working? It is. Okay. All right, let me know if I'm going to just start welcoming people and going through some of the basics. If we're good. Okay. And I know I have Debbie doing some other things, so. All right, Debbie, I know I had you don't have to do that. We'll start welcoming people and yeah. So no worries. I'll get to that later. All right. So here we are. It is a stormy night in Hayward, California. And we are here for our SEL Community of Transformative Practice, and we are here to do our SEL Pechakucha event. So it's a peer learning exchange. We're going to hear from 6 of our Community of Transformative Practice members about some transformative practices that they are initiating. I'm Winnie McMichael, and I am the Program Director for Social and Emotional Learning for Alameda County Office of Education. We are hybrid today, so we have people who are here at ACOE, and we have wonderful people who are joining us on Zoom. I can hear lots of dinging of people coming into the Zoom room. So welcome to everyone, no matter how you're attending. For those in Zoom, in the chat in just a moment, you're going to be seeing a link to the sign-on sheet. And also, if you'd be able to rename yourself just so that I can see your first and last name. It's nice to have your work site too, but the most important thing are your first and last name. I do go and verify people's attendance through the Zoom log, and the sign-in sheet is for our sponsor, Cal Hope, who has given us a grant, which is funding this community of transformative practice. You actually in Zoom are going to be muted except for when you're going into breakout rooms. We are going to have some time to process what's going on with each other in the breakout rooms between, we're going to have a couple presentations and then go on and do that. Here's the agenda, but also in the chat in just a moment, you will be getting an agenda if you're joining us via Zoom. So I'm not going to go through all of it just in the interest of time because I want to get us going. We do have our typical norms, which are to listen for understanding. And that, of course, some of this is going to be when we're speaking with each other in small groups to process the information we're receiving. We're always keeping students and families in mind. We come as we are, right? And so that means do what you need to do to take care of yourself. And we're happy to have you here and take and share airspace. So when we're having those little breakouts, it's nice if you would turn your camera on if you're in Zoom, but be sure to share the airspace and also to talk. So I do want to start off as usual. We always have a grounding. And this is one here. First, I want to just talk about in general why we are here. And that is, we are here for social emotional learning, right? And we know one of the things we've talked about in our community of transformative practice is that social emotional learning is happening all the time. We are always taking in what's happening socially and emotionally, right? And what it is we do as adults when we're working with kids, we are teaching them, right, about social emotional learning, whether we know it or not, all the time. It's always happening. So our actions and our reactions are models for students, right? We tell them how to feel, how to interact with others, including how to feel about themselves. Okay? So we'll be hearing more about that with the presentations today. I also want to just mention one of the things we'll hear about too is that we are social creatures. Sometimes people say like herd animals. And so one of the things is our nervous systems are actually interacting with the nervous systems of the people around us, including when we are in a classroom with kids, the kids' nervous systems respond to our own. So we'll be hearing a little bit about that as well in our presentations today. So we're going to hear about these types of things. And for our grounding activity, I'd like you to practice a little bit of your empathy and think about, because we will have 6 people. One person is actually out sick, but they have recorded their presentation for us. But they are doing a Pechakucha presentation, all of them for the first time. So they are trying something new. So think about for yourself a time that you have tried something new or experienced something that is new for you. And just think about what kinds of emotions arose for you when you tried something new. And it's just something to silently contemplate. And then also think about tools or strategies that you might have used in a time like that. So I don't know if maybe we could have a couple of share outs about the types of emotions that we might feel when we are trying something new. I'm going to walk around. Does anybody have anything they want to share about types of emotions that might come up for them?
It can be a little scary.
It could be a little scary, right? And then how about any other emotions that might come up for people?
I think some excitement, but also butterflies and wondering, how am I going to do this?
So thoughts, physical sensations, it could be excitement, it could be a little anxiousness.
Excited curiosity and a little fear.
I love that too. Curiosity, one of our transportive SEL bases, right, is our curiosity. Great. Well, thank you. And I know in the chat, we might have a couple things. Is there anything anybody put in the chat? I know I didn't ask you to, just about what kinds of things you might feel.
Anything in the chat yet, but I have joined. Unmute.
Okay. Kind of getting echoey there. And I know I didn't ask. Okay. Give it a second. Is there anything? Okay. Well, I do want to give people time who are there in Zoom to go ahead and sign in on the sign-in sheet, rename themselves, and hopefully you guys all have an agenda. With that, just to keep us going, I want to start with our first presenter. Our first presenter is Vicki Sargent. And whoops. So Vicki, she's a 30-year Bay Area veteran educator whose leading philosophy is love. She believes relationships, both on an intrapersonal and interpersonal basis, are foundational to feelings of joy, fulfillment, and satisfaction in all areas of life, and are at the core of all successful endeavors. She's currently an administrator on special assignment for social emotional learning in the Hayward Unified School District. And with that, I'm going to pass it on over to Vicki.
Give one Zoom. Oh, okay. All right. Very good. Thank you. Good evening. Social emotional learning. What's love got to do with it? Everything. Because in the presence of love, we thrive. In the absence of love, we don't do as well. So love has everything to do with everything, and it's interwoven into all of the things we do. And that is a landmark of social and emotional learning. So what does a yellow number 2 pencil with a pink top and a championship of a spelling bee have to do with social emotional learning? Well, it has everything to do with it because it represents love. In the absence of opportunities and spaces where students feel and have love, they do well. And those where they don't, they don't. I want to take you back to 1950 in Daly City, California, a Japanese man decided he wanted to buy a home. They said no, he sued, he won, he bought a home. He paved the way for people of color to be able to live in Daly City. So when I was 2 years old in 1965, my parents bought a home in Daly City, following in the footsteps of that Japanese man who paved the way for so many. And we were one of the first Black families in Daly City ever. So thank you to that man who was courageous and exercised his agency. So while living in San Francisco, before we moved to San Francisco, I went here to Frederick Burke School, which is on the campus of San Francisco State University. And there I saw all kind of people. It was super exciting. The students who went to the school looked like me. It was a beautiful culture. We had fun. It was a great time. And after school, I would go to Mrs. Mrs. Walden's house, and she kept kids. And you can see from the picture that all of the kids looked like me. There was a sense of familiarity. There was a sense of excitement. There was a sense of fun. And we all did really fun and cool things together. So it felt really safe. And while going to Mrs. Walden, I met Tina Turner. And Tina Turner, took my friend Gail and me to her house in San Francisco, where she had a red velvet heart-shaped bed that she let us sit on, pressed a button, and the bed spun around. That's love right there. So now this is my new school in Daly City. So the house that my parents bought was 1 block over from this Vistamar Elementary. They called it the Round School for Square Kids. And so in the 1970s, I was the only Black student in this school, which was quite a contrast coming from Frederick Burke and Mrs. Walden. So here I am, that's me in the 3rd grade, and I was in Mrs. Feldman's class, and Mrs. Feldman was a tall, white lady, very stern, never smiled, monotone voice. And when we were learning cursive writing, she snatched the yellow pencil from my hand, slammed it on the desk in front of me, and yelled, saying that I was doing it all wrong. So Mrs. Feldman represented the absence of love demonstrated through a yellow pencil, which caused me as a student to shut down, feel stupid, feel unwelcomed, feel unsmart, and really question my ability. So this representation of a piece of wood painted yellow with a piece of rubber at the top does demonstrate for me the absence of love. And when students are in spaces and they don't feel that sense of belonging, they don't feel that sense of safety, they don't feel that sense of trust, they cannot thrive because they're internally shut down. 4th grade came and I met Miss Kim. Miss Kim was kind. She had a sweet voice. She recognized me. She saw me. She gave me an excitement for words and for language. And so in Miss Kim's class, I felt like somebody. I felt smart. I felt capable. And in Miss Kim's class, I didn't win 1, I didn't win 2, but I won 3 spelling bees. So I just had my chest poked out. I felt really great. And so in the presence of love, all things are possible. Students can show up fully as themselves, confidently. Also in Miss Kim's class, she gave us an opportunity to take all of the words that we had learned and put them together. So I had taped together several pieces of 8.5 by 11 line paper. And I made this beautiful document that looked very much like what you're seeing on a Scrabble board of all the words. And Miss Kim let me go to the front of the class and share it with my classmates. So what's love got to do with it? Everything. Because in the absence of love, students feel lost. They feel abandoned. They feel ashamed. They feel like they have to hide in plain sight. Whereas in the presence of love, they have this level of confidence. They're curious. They're explorers. They take chances and risks. Belonging. It's a noun. To be seen, understood, and valued without needing to change yourself. That is the presence of love. That is what we want students to experience. That is what we as adults want to feel even on a daily basis. And so when those things are present, look at their faces. Look at that. Beautiful. We want students to feel like that. We want them to feel seen, valued, happy, joyful, experiential, curious, all of those things that are the conditions for love and thriving. And so when all those conditions are present, students can achieve anything they set out to do. This is me with my dad, Mr. Clyde Lee Sargent, on the campus of San Francisco State, earning my master's degree, coming full circle from where I started at Frederick Burke. So what do we want for our children? We want them to feel and experience love without even having to say the word. We can feel it. We know it. They know it. They feel it. And so we want to accept all of the children for however they're showing up so that they can feel confident in their self-identification and their self-exploration and their self. And so what does love have to do with it? Everything. Yeah, that's right, Paulette. Love is everything. It is the key to life, and its influences are those that move the world. My goal, my desire is, as the social and emotional learning administrator in Hayward Unified School District, it is to institutionalize love. Thank you.
Bravo. Yes. Thank you so much, Vicki, for starting us off with what love has got to do with it. And so we are going to move on to our next wonderful SEL Pechakucha presentation from Paulette Smith. Paulette is a principal at James Madison Elementary in San Leandro Unified School District. She has 20 years of educational leadership experience, and she has degrees in business and educational leadership, and is a mother, grandmother, entrepreneur, and lifelong advocate for educational liberation. Paulette believes creating safe spaces where students can explore their identity, passions, and voice is the #1 way to impact outcomes for students, particularly students within the BIPOC community. And with that,
yeah. Let's go. All right. Okay. Just need to be blind as a bat, so I gotta see that thing. All right, can you hear me? Here we go. The power of Sister Circle for Black girls. I'm Paulette Smith. I'm a principal in San Leandro Unified School District at James Madison Elementary School. I got a long 20 seconds, huh? Okay, I get to say it a lot more. Yep, I'm ready. Okay, so I want to just center us with some libations. I want you to think about someone who is an ancestor that you would like to recognize. For me, it's my father, Paul Ralph Smith. I want to speak his name into this space because it wasn't easy for him as a Black man in this country. And he died at an early death because he was denied access to healthcare. Today's story, though, is about her story. It's about creating safe and healthy spaces to create a plan of action and to stay resilient and focused on the work for all of us. I was a girl who in 7th grade was kicked out of school, period, like done. And I learned by 9th grade that my experience taught me that education systems are designed to push Black children like me out of the school systems. And clearly that didn't define who I was, because I went on to become a principal. I went on to go and do great things and be a wonderful mother. At the core, though, we need to ensure that we are seeing, acknowledging, and cultivating our children. We need to protect and liberate their education, and we need to disrupt harmful and very bad practices. Today's story is about Stephanie. Her story was back last year in 5th grade, where she was isolated by peers. She lacked a sense of belonging. She was experiencing racial microaggressions, stereotypes, and adultification. This is something that many of our girls go through. everyday experiences of overt and covert racism. Oh, your skin looks like fill in the blank. Oh, you know, you you can't do that. You're not as smart as I am. Oh, you're taking so long. Well, I want you to look at this young lady, and what you see is someone who's just come through the pandemic. You see someone who is standing presenting her thoughts. You see a teacher who's holding her chest. And that's a sign of compassion, because what this young lady is sharing, her words matter. What she's sharing is something that she feels deeply um, about. And she was making a connection to Fred Korematsu and his struggle and her experience as a fifth grader in a public school. Her words matter because she's telling us what's in her mind. How do I feel when people discriminate against me? When I went through racism, I was scared and angry. What's wrong with my skin? Or I wish my skin was lighter. At some point, I looked into bleaching my skin. Those are her words. I want you to envision a space at your schools where you are breathing life into these children. You're speaking life into their hearts and soul. And you're creating an environment where that doesn't happen. And it starts at TK. Here we are with a sister circle, because at that point she was so stuck. And we have teachers, we have books, we have food, we have tea, we're in the garden. It's very holistic. We're doing visioning boards. We're offering her images. And through that support and love, she found her friend circle and she found a place to belong. She also developed really strong friendships with these two girls as they were doing a poem about Amanda Gorman and learning about the history of our country. She also found her voice and identity. This is her vision board where she says, just be you, find gratitude. I'm gonna be a history maker. I'm strong, my strength is beautiful. She's wearing her daishiki. This is the first time she wore it the entire school year. She had a sense of pride in who she is. And these are her words. I mean, just why? If someone discriminates against you or someone you know, stand up for them. Stand up for yourself. But she doesn't have to do it alone. We're here to do it with her. Every single educator in that school building needs to be a bucket filler. They need to be able to notice their children. They need to connect and build those caring and trusting relationships. Every single person needs to be a lifeline, and we have to disrupt those experiences that are racial and gender aggressions in our schools, because they're happening, but they're just quiet. Dear Black girl, show them why the sun kisses your skin like no other. Written in your melanin is a fairy tale of how one star fell in love with another. Live so freely, comfortably, and beautifully in your skin. In your skin. We need an action plan. We got work to do. You're gonna need a team. You're gonna need some bravery. You're gonna need to disrupt this harm that happens every single day. Little microaggressions, little cuts. We've got to do things differently. I'm providing you all with some resources. If you ever get this PowerPoint presentation, check it out. I would definitely watch Push Out Film, because we're adultifying our girls, we're criminalizing them, and we're not educating them in a lot of cases. I know that's not everyone, it's not everywhere, but it's a lot. In closing, I hope that you feel like you heard this message, because it's a powerful message. And it's one that I am very committed to doing every single day I come to work at James Madison Elementary School. And today I actually had the opportunity to see her. She just appeared. I mean, it was like serendipity. And I was like, wait, what? I looked up and she's like standing there and she's so tall now. And I said, well, could you do me a favor? And I wanted to ask you a question. I wanted you to reflect upon. And she's like, okay, sure. So I think we have the video. Is that right? We do. Stephanie, I'm so glad. I wanted to know, well, if you've had a chance to reflect on last year when myself and Miss Pagram and Miss Cater kind of wrapped our arms around you for the Sister Circle. Could you tell me a little bit about that and what you thought of it?
Last year when we did this circle, I was really grateful that there are people who are like me, who are willing to provide me with love. And my thoughts of that about it, because now I'm in middle school, I opened up my identity as being African American. And I'm being more proud and doing more hairstyles or wearing more clothes that embraces my culture. And I also want to say for the other Black kids at Madison that they should also embrace themselves, because it's not about who we are today, but in the future, who we are then. And yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. All right. If you couldn't hear that, hopefully you're able to hear it, but she was talking about how she felt, more free to be herself, basically, right? And let me bring this back. We are going to have a little bit of time now just to go into some breakout rooms and have a little small group reflection, and we'll do it here in the room. But just reflecting on what feelings and thoughts arose for you as you experienced the presentations, and what connections did you make between the presentations and your current work context? Are there any next steps that you're inspired to want to take based on what you heard? And then also there is a tiny URL, which I will make sure you're able to get in the chat in order to do some questions if you have any questions for the presenters. So there's that is going to link you to a Padlet, and you can write some questions in there. And at the end, we're going to have a little time for Q&A at the end of all the presentations. So with that, we're going to go ahead and send Zoom folks into their rooms. We've got 8 minutes.
Yes, in the chat, we had one person who was sharing awesome and another one said beautiful for both the presentations. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we'll see you back in just a few minutes, and go ahead in this room. If you're by yourself, you might want to join a group and or have somebody come on over, and we'll have some little small group discussion time. Okay, right now, hopefully you'll be able to continue seeing them, and then off you go into your Zoom rooms. So we're gonna get started. Let me know when everybody's back, Debbie. Okay, cool. All right, well, welcome back. I hope that everybody had some good discussion and some nice connection with others. We're going to move on to our next esteemed presenter. We have Lily Velo. She is a youth intervention specialist in Hayward Unified School District at Hayward High School. She has a background as being a child of a family who immigrated to the United States. And she went on to become a high school social studies teacher and then went on to become an administrator. She's also the founder and the president of Connect Ed and an author of a book about inspiring underrepresented students and recognizing their ability to become leaders. It's called I Have What It Takes. With that, I think we're going to just bring her on over. You're going to.
We'll get started. All right. Do you have students that have a hard time being in class? You know, those students that are always asking for the bathroom pass, always needing to be out. I see some of you going like this. Well, as a youth intervention specialist, I'm going to talk about how I have been supporting female students who are experiencing anxiety, particularly at Hayward High. I became a history teacher in 2006. I worked at Tennyson High School in the World House program, where students who were coming from Mexico, Central America, unaccompanied. And my experience working with these students really led me to start making connections about their experiences and how it showed up in the classroom, how it had affected them. After that, I went into the world of admin. And as an administrator, I don't know about you, but I went in thinking, oh, I'm going to help out teachers. I'm going to support students. I'm going to support the curriculum. But instead, I dealt with behavior all day long. And I still remember my first year, I met a student, his family, therapist. His mom was going through some really life-threatening disease. And his therapist introduced me to these books. And it was kind of this aha moment in my educator's mind where I started to make connections about why certain students could show up to class ready while others could not. These books also shine light on my own experiences as a child that was impacted by mental health. I suffered from anxiety, from depression, but never identified myself as that person. After the pandemic, when students came back, I witnessed an increase in the amount of panic attacks. It was nonstop every day. And I knew that I had to do something different the following year, or else I was not going to be able to come in and support students. And so I pulled from my experiences and I applied to a Calm Rooms grant provided by the Cook Center for Human Connection. And what I realized in my own experience is that we needed healing community, a space for students to come and share their stories. I created a 7-week group offering for female students experiencing anxiety, and really to kind of get rid of that stigma that's often attached to being an anxious person. Although they were very shy at first, they taught me that I had to be very intentional about building opportunities for them to connect and create safety. And we created some agreements here on the first meeting where we would come back and kind of go over them to remember to be patient, understanding, and not judgmental. Because one of the things that I've come to understand is that at the root of anxiety is really nervous system dysregulation. Anxiety is the symptom of a nervous system that is in protective mode, in a fight, flight, or freeze mode. And because of that, we slowed down to be able to give some space for our nervous systems to be instead of always doing. We did this through coloring, through journaling, and I gave a lot of choice and permission for them just to trust their own inner knowing about what they needed at that moment. When we got into the curriculum, and one of the first things that I ended up doing was I reframed anxiety. Anxiety is like this alarm that's alerting us to a perceived danger in the environment. The key word being here, perceived. So instead of having shame around experiencing chronic anxiety, we saw it as anxiety is here to protect me. And we learned that the alarm exists in the body. It exists in our chest, in our stomach, maybe in our shoulders, in our thoughts. And because of that, we had to process the alarm, the emotions, the energy that had lodged into our body, waiting for it to be processed, to be witnessed. In many ways, our body becomes like this jar holding the rocks, holding those alarms, the anxiety. And when the jar is too full, the rocks spill over. In many ways, that is what a panic attack is. It's the body no longer having the capacity to hold the alarm. And we use this metaphor of a jar and rocks to really think about how anxiety is like a stored alarm waiting to be released. And we discussed healthy ways. We identified 3 key understandings. 1, awareness. 2, creating safe community. And 3, reconnecting to our body. In addition to reframing anxiety as an alarm and creating a community where we could be witnessed, I focused a lot on safely introducing embodiment practices, what I like to call being back in the body. It allowed students to reconnect to their body, to feel the rocks. And we did this through tapping our body. We did this through a 0-point energy exercise where we just became more acquainted with the sensations coming back to our body. But I had to do this with first creating a lot of trust, banking enough trust among them to be able to do this. And then we ended up at the end using our breath to help ground us and keep us centered, but not in a way that felt forced. It was simply an awareness of our breath. Was it shallow? Was it deep? Was it fast? Was it slow? But most importantly, we learned that anxiety was only there to protect us from a perceived danger. And there was nothing wrong with us, but a whole lot right with us. Our nervous system was working. Our brain was keeping us alive. And this allowed students to release the shame around experiencing anxiety. And in releasing, they could use their body's new capacity to redirect their energy towards coming to school, towards actually being in class, towards focusing and concentrating, and towards feeling a little bit more like they could handle the anxiety, the alarm when it showed up. So I invite you to find ways to allow our students' alarm to be fully processed, listening without judgment, fixing or giving unsolicited advice, or having a safe space to process the alarm while at school. These, for me, have been the most transformational practices in supporting female students. Thank you.
Thank you, Lily. Our next presenter to speak about peace in a chaotic world is Janae Shepard. She teaches careers in education and child psychology at Mission Valley ROP, as well as marketing and special ed education. She also teaches business professional development at Bridgepoint Alternative. Janae has been a CTE high school teacher for 18 years, and she was Teacher of the Year in Alameda County in 2010. She's a wife, a mother, a metalhead, an animal lover, and she loves to go on adventures. And with that, I think I'm going to hand you the microphone. Yeah. Did you want to sit in the, oh, you're going to do it here? Okay.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for having me tonight. So what I did was I asked my students, what do teachers need to hear more about? And they told me creating peace in the classroom. And it came for at least 7 or 8 different students. So I decided to share on some of the things that I do currently in my classrooms. Reflecting back as a high school student, I had dropped out my freshman year of high school. I just didn't feel like I fitted in. I came from a family that was extremely dysfunctional. And it was challenging, and school was not a priority. It was literally succeed the best you can. So the first slide that I've decided to share were two of my special needs students who were very interested in Minecraft. So I gave them the opportunity to create a board game that they shared with other students, and they were able to connect with the general ed students in our school. One other thing that I love to do, and the students told me they like to do, is they put their name on a poster board, and all the students go around the room, they pause, and they write words of affirmation on the student that has their name on the board. And that's a great way to start off the day. In all my classrooms, I have a basket where we keep free food, because if your basic needs are not met, how are you going to learn? And I reflect on that a lot. We didn't have a lot of food growing up, and I was hungry. And if I just had an apple, I think I would have had a better day. And this one is a quick little small motor activity that my students really enjoyed to do. It gets them connected. They get little corn with little chopsticks, and it's a contest. And when they're feeling stressed out or they just need that time away, they run to the shelf and grab it. This is a daily check-in with my students. This happens to be one of my special needs students. He was feeling stress. He had anxiety. He was worn out. I gave them the opportunity to put that on paper. That way we knew in the community how the student was feeling that day. Culture is a big part of social emotional learning. Who are we? Where do we come from? A lot of times in education, we tend to forget about those things. Your norms might not be the same as my norms. If I don't know your cultural norms, I might step on your feet. This is a great activity that we did with my special needs students. She wrote about herself. She wrote about how she sees herself in our community. Because a lot of times special ed students, they don't feel part of the community. They're stuck within their own system all day long. They don't have opportunities to intermingle with other students, building their self-esteem. Group activities, the silliest little group activities. It doesn't always have to be having to do with the curriculum that you teach. An art project, that's spaghetti art. First, they were gross. It's nasty. I don't want to touch it. And before you know it, they're painting. Providing self-help books. If you're having a rough day, grab a self-help book. Take some good advice out of that self-help book. Share that advice with your teammates. Peer and share out. They'd love to be able to have that opportunity to learn more. Yoga. Stretch, move, breathe. Take a moment just to have a peaceful, centered self. School doesn't always have to be about the curriculum, the standards. Take that time to get to know those students. Go outside. Breathe. Go for a community walk. Go for a nature hike around your school. Bring a stuffed animal. Show your stuffed animal. Just engage with each other. Have conversations. Have conversations with them. Talk about your likes. Provide daily encouragement. My students do all our bulletin boards in both of my classrooms. Encourage them to be proud of who they are. Invest in who they are and share who you are. I tell my students that I do not know how to spell. I tell my students I don't know multiplication facts, but look at me, I'm a high school teacher. Get up and move. Yes, my high school students played musical chairs. They love it. They asked for it. They were competitive. We played the kind of music they wanted to hear while we played it. Bring that in. What kind of music do you like? Special ed community is my heart. My students volunteer at the Special Olympics to create that unity, that community that they desperately need, to cheer them on, that they're amazing and that they're doing a great job. Just take the time. A lot of times we get so rushed. Bring in community interests. My students were very, very interested in the World Cup this year. Ms. Shepherd, can I watch the World Cup? Well, yeah, sure. And I turned it into a whole unit about how much money people make playing soccer. How much money could you make playing soccer? Bring in people in your own community. This is one of my closest friends. She owns a home daycare. She comes in and she talks about being an ASL student and how challenging it was here growing up in the Bay Area. And now she owns her own home business. And she's employed several of my students through the years. Bring that artistic stuff back in the classroom. Let them sit in color for a few minutes. Have those coloring sheets in the back of the room. Let them go and just take a moment to have a little peace to circle themselves back to whatever they're feeling at that moment. Allow the students to be uniquely themselves. Know their names, know their interests, know if they're having a bad day. Let them know when you're having a bad day. I tell my students all the time, hey, I'm not feeling good today. I might be sitting a little bit more time at my desk than normal. So thank you. Have a good night.
All right. Thank you so much, Janae. We're having lots of feelings here in the room. We're going to go ahead and have another time for small group reflection. So we're going to go back in Zoom to our small groups. And then, so you know, we're going straight from those small groups into a 10-minute break, or I should say that. Let me look at the agenda for the time. I'll just tell you what time we're supposed to be back from our break. But we do want you to go in the small groups first. And I believe it's 6:40. Am I right on that? And coming back from the break? 6:30 to 6:40 or, yeah, okay. So we'll go ahead and go into the small groups. And you're going to process the same questions about your thoughts and feelings, connections you're making with your current position, and what kind of next steps might you be inspired to take based on the past two presentations that you heard. The breakout rooms. There we go. Okay, so just grab it from the chat and then the breakout rooms are opening up. All right.
Hello, did you need help with a breakout room? Uh-oh, I think you're muted, Mario. Mari.
Oh, hi there. Hi. Yeah, I lost connection. I need to rejoin.
Oh, okay, great.
What room
Let
it
me see
was.
what, let me see.
Rhonda Spencer.
Okay, let me look for that person. Oh yeah, room 3. I'll send you to room 3.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Did it send you to room 3? Okay. Hi, Jennifer. Did you need help with the breakout room? Hi, Jennifer. Did you need help with the breakout room?
And have a whole conversation around ashtray. Like first graders. That's an issue. Yeah, that's a 5-minute break about. Like, did I hit you? Yeah, that's what I think. She does. She opens the door.
Winnie?
Yeah. And it's just.
So 1 minute, they're coming back.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I forgot. Right, okay. So I'll put that in the chat.
Because it looks like
So now they have a 10-minute break, right?
yeah, we have no questions for the panel.
We have Erin Waterhouse says, can the last speaker come to my school to present? That was amazing.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess we'll save the chat. What's your name?
Erin Waterhouse.
Okay. You want to ask what school she's in?
She's, okay, sure.
Oh, yeah. I know. And I love it. Even now. Sure. I asked. Well, I everybody, you guys are
Coming back at 6:40, is that what it was?
So now I wonder if it's going to take care of any kids.
Erin Waterhouse in Fremont?
Did you know it's school?
I'll find out.
That you can teach at Robertson. My brother went there. Did you? I'm a former alternative kid, so. I loved you. I would have succeeded. You were Robertson? No, my brother. What year? He was probably. I was at Robertson for 9 years. It's, maybe around. Okay, so I was at Bruce one. Yeah, I didn't go to Robertson until I was 15. I was there for 9 years.
It's really big. Yeah.
I love to be there, but being at the alternative school on that newer, I fit in there more. It's more, to me, the environment is more nurturing.
Yeah.
More accepting.
So that it was.
I used to always get kids like. You work, it's a struggle.
Somebody got.
Most of them were.
Yeah.
Come on. I go to. So I was born in the photo. I was born in Hopkins, so I go to primary school. Most of my elementary school. In which.
So the rooms are.
The rooms are back, so we have
Oh, and you
28
just put it.
people. I just put it in the note in the chat saying that we're coming back at 6:40. Is that what I heard?
Okay.
He went to college here in Hayward, same thing. And then he moved, they moved out to home. And you literally. They still. He comes from this all this.
So if you're still thirsty after your lovely coffee. Yeah.
So I put everything in a bin, and then I have like the paperwork is already in a bin, but I put everything else in.
So
a
they
bin.
had
You have room for the first papers. I'm gonna take that.
and so no, I only have one person.
Yeah, do you want?
But do you want me to take everything? I can take everything.
Oh, what else? Okay, I'm sorry.
No, what I was saying
what's
is
available?
all three. Like, I was wondering, do you want to have everything or do you want me to take everything?
Split it? Or it's all in one bin?
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I was like,
Put it on the post paper? I'm sorry. Just tell me what you want.
I followed your link.
So I'll.
You want me to take everything? Is that what you think? Is one person should take everything?
One person should probably take everything in case one of us is late, but there's really, I mean, whatever, it doesn't matter either way.
Okay, well, you're planning to get there earlier. Can I help you load your car or I write down?
No, I'll just grab it then and I'll put it in my car while you.
Okay.
You know, I don't know.
Yeah, because
But I,
if I have everything, I have there.
like almost.
Yeah, and I don't know how early.
I have your cell phone, right? I have my cell phone. Okay. He said we could get there, an hour early.
Will you do
So by 7:30 I can go with you?
So.
If I'm, I mean, you know what kind of. It has a little white Hawaiian.
Charcoal? Oh, charcoal, okay.
So it has a little white
Warrior, Hawaiian warrior.
Okay.
That's fine. So if I get there and I see that there's no, there's other cars, but I'll still go in and check it out and see if I can set it up.
I'm gonna write.
So I placed out.
Yeah, you might, I'll be awake. Just be like, my daughter off to school or whatever, so, you can text us, and we can text each other when we're ready.
Perfect.
Okay.
That sounds great.
Yeah.
And then I said,
Yeah.
And
I'll
then-
just put it all in my car
and I'll take the cart.
Okay, is that okay?
Yeah, I have room in my car.
Okay, I don't have a whole lot of room in my
Because
car. I mean, I have it in the back, but not in the trunk.
Yeah, so I'll just put everything in my car now, so then
Okay.
that way it's something I can get out.
Okay.
You can just do what you
Okay.
need to do.
Okay.
Thanks, everybody.
I'll take it around. I'm assuming. All right, thank you,
Okay.
Zara.
You're welcome.
I think we'll be in good shape tomorrow, yeah?
Coming from, my father was.
We got it, right?
Everything else, so we have
scenario cards, like have name tags. We have PPGs, we have pens, I have my flash drive, I have my clicker, I'll have my laptop, I have my HDMI cord, I have a dongle, I have my notes.
I'm gonna bring this. It's like, I guess I don't even need to, but I'm gonna.
Do you have your notes?
I have my notes. I have my notes. Very important.
Yeah, so do you have your notes? I have my notes. Um, we have the resource page. We have Post-it notes.
And we have a great attitude.
Awesome attitude. You have your little speaker.
I do. It's in my bag.
Okay.
It's right here.
You
And
just
I have,
gotta
I
bring
have
a phone. You
my
said they're
phone
ready.
charger and I have my laptop charger, like a battery supply.
Cool, me too. They're gonna feed us there, you said, so we don't have to worry about breakfast and lunch.
Yeah, I'm gonna get my own breakfast though, just because usually it's just like fruit and pastries and it's like, oh, no protein.
Okay.
But I have no idea what they'll have. But they said it was a grab and go breakfast. Actually, I guess probably, so actually I have no idea what it is, but there will be food and you can have it. The presenters get food too.
Can you guys mute the room because we're
Yeah.
hearing like side conversations that I don't think we're supposed to hear?
And then I'll probably just wear a dress with boots.
Right. It's gonna rain forecast.
It's supposed to rain 100%.
Well, I'm gonna see if it's gonna be raining when we're loading and unloading. I always look to see what time. So, but yeah, okay. I think we're good. Thank you. Hello.
See you.
See you.
I hope that you guys had a wonderful break and also a nice opportunity to connect with some other people during the small group time. We have 2 more presentations. We were going to have another breakout room. I also want to promote the Padlet where you can go ahead and post questions for any or all of the presenters. And we will have a little time to pull from that at the end of our session. And then for people in the room, if you have some questions, feel free to write them down and hand them over to me. Sorry, I was thinking all about the Zoom folks. But we'd be happy to ask the presenters. Our next presenter unfortunately got sick. So she has recorded her presentation for today. Her name is Becca Coleman. She is the district-wide teacher on special assignment for restorative practices in San Lorenzo Unified School District. Formerly a 2nd grade teacher, Becca now gets to work with students and staff from the transitional kindergarten to 12th grade level. She coaches teachers. She leads restorative practices trainings for a wide variety of stakeholder groups. And she coordinates the wellness centers across the district. And so her presentation is going to be about the wellness centers in San Lorenzo. Hopefully. weird because I had it up and playing before. So. Yeah. Turn it around. Right. What I might do, thank you for your patience. I'm gonna re-up it here and see what happens. That did it.
My name is Becca Coleman, and I'm the district-wide teacher on special assignment for restorative practices in San Lorenzo Unified. This evening, I'm excited to share with you about our wellness centers. Before I was in this role, I was a second grade teacher at Hillside Elementary in San Lorenzo. In 2018, when I was still teaching at Hillside, our principal, Miranda Machado, partnered with my current department, Student Support Services, to create San Lorenzo's first wellness center using a model adapted from SF Unified. As soon as I learned about the wellness center, I knew instantly that it would be a much appreciated support for me and my students. Having a supportive environment that students could visit outside the classroom, to have a little space to take a break and to take care of themselves was such a gift. Flash forward to the spring of 2021, my district had a pot of SEL-focused funding available. We decided to invest in expanding our wellness centers. Before the pandemic, we had 2. Over the last 2 years, we've opened 10 new centers, and by the end of the school year, almost every school will have one. My role now is wholly focused on restorative practices. So as I've spent more time coordinating wellness centers in the past few years, folks have asked me, how does that fit with RP? Part of our district's RP mission is to build and sustain healthy relationships and positive school climates that promote an equitable and restorative environment. By having wellness centers on campuses, we are acknowledging the inevitability of issues and emotions coming up, and we are creating healing spaces in which these things can be tended to. Without such spaces, when students experience challenging emotions or behaviors in the classroom, it can often snowball and sometimes lead to punitive outcomes. This is my why when it comes to wellness centers. Students deserve a space on campus where they can go to take care of their social-emotional health. And I've been so excited to support the proliferation of such spaces across the district. Now I'm going to share more about how we set up and run our wellness centers and some of the best practices we've learned along the way. When I'm supporting a school with opening a wellness center, we are working both on setting up the physical space, which includes dedicating a room, ordering supplies, and the like, as well as building buy-in and continuing to cultivate a restorative mindset with the school staff. Once the physical space is set, we lead a staff meeting to inform teachers all about the wellness center and how it fits under the RP umbrella. We conduct tours or classroom presentations for all students, and we train the team that will be staffing the wellness center. Our centers are staffed mostly by mental health providers and their interns. Staffing is the biggest hurdle in opening and maintaining wellness centers. At secondary sites, we strongly prefer to have clinical staffers, as students often bring more serious and sensitive issues there. We collaborate with school site teams to build a team of staffers to ensure that their center will be able to be open a minimum of 3 half-days a week to start. San Lorenzo Wellness Centers are a Tier 2 intervention. Teachers support students with Tier 1 interventions, including break spaces or calm corners, which are like mini wellness centers in the classroom. Then, if support is still needed, students can choose to visit the wellness center. In fitting with restorative practices, wellness centers are a non-punitive space. It is always a student's choice if they would like to visit a center. They are never sent there or required to go. We want students to build their own self-awareness and autonomy by having the power to request a visit when they need it. The primary reasons a student might choose to visit a wellness center are for self-regulation or for a restorative conversation. Our wellness centers all have consistent structures and procedures across the district, so that students will have a familiar experience as they age up through our schools. Outside of these drop-in hours, wellness centers are used for circles and by clinical staff for groups and individual check-ins. When students request a visit, their teacher gives them a wellness center pass. Each classroom has 2 passes. When they arrive at the center, they check in with the staffer. The staffer has a tracker where they input information about each visitor. Then the student sets a 10 or 15-minute timer, depending on the age or grade level, and chooses a station. Our wellness centers have 4 stations. Cool down, which has a variety of hands-on activities, mindfulness, adult check-in, and restorative problem solving. At that station, students can participate in a facilitated restorative conversation. There are also community resources available in many of our centers. Generally, once the student's time is up, they check out with the staffer and return to class. The vast majority of students report feeling better after spending time in a wellness center. When they're checking out, students have said they feel more calm, peaceful, happy, or that they are in the green zone, using the zones of regulation framework. A 4th grade student said, without the wellness center, I do not know, said, quote, without the wellness center, I do not know what I would do because it helps me process my feelings with adults I can trust. Students and staff alike frequently comment about how much they appreciate having these beautiful, peaceful spaces on campus. Last week, a student who had been having an issue with a classmate and had chosen to come to the wellness center at one of our middle schools sighed contentedly as she raked the sand in a mini Zen garden and said, quote, I love it here. May many more students have access to restorative places like wellness centers in the future. If you are interested in bringing wellness centers to your district, my advice is to start with one pilot school where you have admin support and where staff has already been engaging in restorative practices work. Make sure that there is a physical space, initial and ongoing funding, and staffing available to sustain a wellness center before you dive further into the process. Wellness centers can have many different structures and purposes, so define a clear and specific purpose for your space and make sure everyone involved is on the same page. Please feel free to reach out to me, rcoleman@slzusd.org. I'm happy to share whatever I can to support more schools in opening wellness centers. Thank you.
Thanks so much to Becca. You could tell she was not feeling very well when she put that together for us. What a trooper and what an important and really exciting thing to have so many wellness centers growing in San Lorenzo, and the connection with restorative practice it's so important as well. So much appreciated. Let me set up our next presentation, which is our last one, but not least. We have next Kerrie. I always say Chabot. I never even asked you if that's correct. Is it? All right. So Kerrie Chabot is she teaches leadership and French at Hopkins Junior High in the Fremont Unified School District. She's a mother who loves to kayak and dance. She's passionate about physical and mental wellness, as well as teaching and learning. And she's a believer in reciprocity. And are you going to sit over here? Or would you like to go right here? Okay.
This is my first slide. This is a story of restoring hope, and it's in memory of a colleague of mine, Hopkins Spanish teacher, Ronna Clayman, who was sadly struck by some storms of emotional challenge. And the goal of tonight's learning exchange is to highlight the life-saving importance of relationship building. The gift she gave me. Quote by Antoine de Saint-Exupéry, "It's only with the heart that one can see rightly. What is essential is invisible to the eyes." Welcome to Hopkins, from where students were uprooted during the pandemic. In 2020, we schooled remotely also for the entire year. In 2022, we came back, thought we were back, and then a week before school started, we were again uprooted and moved to another school with nothing, none of our supplies, due to campus construction. But Hopkins proved that they can survive and thrive no matter what the address. This year, we're again home and accepted the challenge to remove these weeds that assumed control of our space. Garden number 1 was born, the theme. And students were driven. Their willing spirit was infectious, and they built a community. Lowe's, Home Depot, they all said yes to their requests, especially when we shared Rana's story. Everyone was curious and welcomed these students and their smiles and their grit and their willing spirit. Even when we encountered deep-rooted issues in that garden, that's the same spot that just had the weeds in slide number 1. But then we found this root they couldn't get. We tried. And they felt stuck, but they weren't afraid to ask adults for help. School maintenance got involved after one phone call, and they got to the bottom of it. Garden number 1 was ready, and the humor definitely helped with the healing. It does help with healing. It helped at Hopkins after that loss and after those 3 years. Tend your garden, maintain its health. Remember to laugh. Be prepared, on guard for the potential attacks. Garden number 1 was restored. Still, again, that was the same one that had weeds just a few weeks prior. The past couple of minutes, you may be wondering, why is an educator with advanced degrees who teaches at a highly ranked school in Silicon Valley showing us photos of sticks, rocks, roots, and dirt? Well, my hope is that you will see and appreciate how we use what's literally right in front of us, that we all have access to, our school structure, to beautify campus, not only literally, but figuratively, those connections after those 3 years that we were disconnected. Because these blue ribbon awards we win, yes, we're proud. We do deserve them. The staff, the parents, the students, the district should be recognized. But we're also mindful of that other meaning to blue. It also means melancholic, sad at age 13. And there aren't emotional wellness trophies. And when our custodian, our very appreciated custodian, Mr. Diaz, hurt his back on campus, he was out for three weeks. The students again felt inspired and they showed support and they asked how they can help. They learned he grew peppers, so they made a vegetable garden. Garden number 3 was born. October of 2022. We continue loving our roots and celebrating life at Hopkins. This beautiful tree is my favorite because they dusted off rocks from 2 years prior. We got the teachers involved, and these rocks that had unintentionally been buried by the construction crew, we restored, replenished, because they were important to us. They were worth it. And garden number 4 was restored November 2022. Then students initiated an invitation to all the clubs and staff, hoping to engage them. And if you see in the background, you see our beautiful blue ribbon award, but now it's celebrated by all colors of the rainbow, not just blue. Represents everybody. And this was garden number 5, December of 2022. Students wishing they hadn't signed up for my class, perhaps in this picture, or it's parents who, once they get a hold of it, they're going to wonder about child labor laws, but no, this is just old-fashioned skill building. That day, I taught 27 students how to hold a broom and a rake, including 2 lefties, none of whom had ever done it before. And then that was the result, garden number 6, January 2023. Hopkins Hawks. We made it meaningful, and the goal was obviously not Versailles, okay, but it was a meaningful space to empower our community and to brand, to be proud of their brand, garden number 6 in 2023. Sticks and stones may break our bones. Remember that? This was 2 days after we finished garden number 6 in a windstorm just a couple weeks ago. You might have had it in your schools. I laughed and then I cried. I was still on campus. It was about 6 o'clock, getting dark, and they did not break these kids' bones. In fact, they grasped an opportunity. They were inspired. Feeling inspired to confront the challenge, we actually used these cue cards, I believe offered by Alameda County Office of Education, to express some of our feelings. And Austin here, he used a sense of positive reframe. So I found a quote that I remembered from childhood. If it is easy, it would have no value. That's Mr. Bill Toomey, 1968 decathlon gold medalist. That's his least favorite race there. And it helped the students when I read that quote, and they realized they needed to get right back out there to that messed up garden they had spent weeks preparing and restore it. It was meaningful. Sad, disappointed, frustrated. Students reframed it. Madam Chabot, what do we do? What's a word for when you want to make something better? Like it was already good and then something happened and then you want to make it better. It's to in something, to improve, to ameliorate. We ingooded our experience and added a symbolic nest from the fallen tree branches in the way back there, you can see. And we're the Hopkins Hawks. So that's now our Hopkins Hawks nest. Donations have since poured in. This last one came in last week, some anonymous, some left by the school door, succulents, and more. And now we are nested in hope. And when the weeds may return, they will return. We'll be ready. We'll rock on. When those storms surprise us again. We're ready. Love you, Rana.
Thank you so much, Kerrie, for sharing that story. And I'm sorry the slides were skipping around and they weren't going on their own and then wanted to. So I apologize for that. So we do have a little time for reflecting on the last 2 presentations, and then we're gonna come back and see if there's any questions for our presenters. So our questions again are, what types of thoughts and feelings arose for you when you experienced the presentations? What connections did you make between the presentations and your current work context? Are there any things that you're inspired to do following what you've heard and seen? And then if you have any questions, please use the Padlet. So we're gonna go ahead and have a just 8-minute breakout time, and then we'll come back and we'll have some time to ask questions if there are any presenters, and then to wrap things up. We'll see, how are we doing, Debbie, on Zoom? Getting ready to go. All right. To come back from the breakout room. I think we've got a little. See, there's a little bit more time before everybody's going to be back. There we go. We've got about 30 more seconds. Got it. Are you guys, can you see? There we go. Oh, we can see them on Zoom fine, even behind. Okay, no problem. Yeah. All right, it looks like we have all our people returning now. Welcome back. And we are going to be here in the final, a kind of one of the final pieces. We do have a closing that as usual, but we have some questions for the panelists. So I'm going to read them. And the first one is for Vicki. And Vicki, there's a question. You spoke about the different people who showed you love through your life's journey. Any advice on how someone can work towards being a beacon of hope for children at a school?
Well, thank you for that very simple question, person who asked it. I think the best way to be love and to demonstrate love is to show up really authentically as your wholeful self. Don't be fake, don't be phony, don't try to pretend, because kids will snip you out. They don't want to know if you're for real. Kids want to know if you're for real, for real. And in that being for real, it's a demonstration, it's demonstrative love in action, because it's raw, it's not pretentious, it's authentic, it's true. And so that to me is a demonstration of love.
Thank you. So be your authentic self with kids. I love it. We're going to pass it on down to Paulette for the next question. This person said, I appreciate that this is happening at an early point in the girls' development that was featured. Is there a consideration to have this group, the Sister Circle group, continue on into middle school as a support system during the tween years?
That's a really interesting thought, because, you know, for all of us, this is for me, it's very organic. I wish this was like somebody gave me a plan and I could implement it. This is everything that I'm doing at my school is literally just what I see in the moment that needs to be done. What I did tell her today was come back and give back. And if you ever need us, we're here for you. I have a very good relationship with the principal at the school that she went to. So I think I could kind of think about what this might look like for our students as they promote up into the middle school. Thank you.
Awesome. A really powerful story. And a powerful intervention, both the group and as well as having her work on with friends, making friends on this wonderful groundbreaking poem that really shook our society. Our next question is for Lily, and this question is: taking ownership of the word anxiety seems transformational. How did you get there?
Ooh, let me take a deep breath. Thank you for the question. I got there through my own personal healing journey. My daughter at the age of 4 landed in the ER with excruciating stomach pain. And I was informed that she may have to have surgery. And at that moment, I had already been on like a healing journey. I worked with an energy coach. But in that moment, something spoke to me and said, there's something else going on here. How am I showing up as a mom? What energy am I presenting? And as I look back now, I can connect the dots where I realized that she was living in a very chaotic environment because mommy had a lot of rocks, if you will, that needed to be processed so that I can show up grounded and centered and really model how she could process her own emotions, how she could process the anger or the fear or the uncertainty. And so it's been a process. It continues to be a process. Healing it's a spiral. We just go deeper and deeper and deeper. But that is really what started this process for me. And in doing this work and being an administrator after, post-COVID, I was able to use my own experience to really support students because a lot of what they shared, it was like a mirror to me, like I completely resonate. I understand what you're going through. And I've just been continuing to just delve into the work, knowing that as I do this, I'm also continuing to heal myself and provide that healing space for others. I hope that answered the question.
Thank you.
Thank
And
you.
thank you for, being vulnerable as a parent as well. That can be really hard for parents to be able to talk about the struggles that they may have as a human and how that affects their children. Appreciate that. All right, for Kerrie, wait, I'm sorry, I skipped over here. Let's go back to Janae. Janae, it's so important to remember school is not all about measures of academics. How did you overcome any pushback from others as you went against the grain?
That's a story of my life. I always went the opposite of what the crowd was doing. So it was just a natural thing for me. And I was just sharing this with a colleague. Know what you're doing and why you're doing it. Tie your standards and your competencies and what you're doing in the classroom. So if your boss was to walk in, yeah, we are playing musical chairs, but what are they learning while we're playing musical chairs? They're learning to get along. They're learning to pay attention to the voice of the music or your voice. They're learning competition and how to lose in a great way. Sportsmanship. Know what you're doing while you're doing it so that you could be able to tell the people around you why you do it. And I've been lucky. I've had some amazing administrators and they don't really question what I do. But I know without a shadow of a doubt, I know they say, oh, that's just Miss Shepherd. Oh, that's Miss Shepherd. She's blaring that Metallica in her classroom again because Annette likes it. Or, oh my gosh, Baby Got Back. Well, guess what? Sis likes Baby Got Back. So we're listening to Baby Got Back. Know why you're doing what you're doing.
Thank you, Janae. Yeah. All right. And last but not least, we have a question for Kerrie. Kerrie, love how you braided together community support as you grew to have 6 new outdoor spaces. What's your next project?
Oh, glad you asked. There is an amazing special ed program at our school. And I have subbed in the classroom quite a few times this year during prep, and wow, the dedication of the aides in there, just amazing, the one-on-one aides. And there's one student in particular, I don't need to say his name, but I noticed loves taking the rocks, and he loves dirt. He loves digging, the physical, the texture, everything. And our next project, we just discussed this actually, this idea, because there's a developer who just reached out and he'd like to donate to the school. So we want something really special. We're going to make a Zen type of garden, a sandbox for this classroom for anybody who wants to use it so they can explore, and they use the sand, the texture, and it's a win-win for everybody. It will be beautiful. A Zen sandbox garden that is used, not just stared at.
Well, thank you. It's so interesting. The thread that I see between everyone here is that of creating just loving, calm, wonderful spaces for kids to come and be their authentic selves. And I really appreciate you all coming, bringing your authentic selves and sharing your serenity your intelligence, your creativity, your love, and all the wonderful things that you're doing in your schools, hopefully inspiring other people throughout throughout Alameda County, to do things on their own as well. So looking forward to more conversations about all the wonderful things people are doing to come. We do have a closing activity, which if we're able to get the screen back up, it's pretty simple. Thank you. Let me go back to the PowerPoint. This is an activity where it's just sharing something, either it's head, heart, or hands. So sharing something you learned or you thought, which is head. For a heart, sharing something you felt or connected with, or hands, sharing something that you'll take away or do. And so for those on Zoom, if you'd like to go ahead and think about that and put something in the chat, and then we'll go ahead and check into that. If there's anybody here in the room who would like to share a head, heart, or hands, be it a presenter or one of the wonderful people in our audience, please. Oh.
Can we touch our hearts?
Here we go. There's a heart, hand, head moment, but a heart and hand moment more than anything, a spontaneous circle of appreciation here in the room. I'll walk over and
We have lots of hearts. So we have feeling inspired, feeling uplifted. Damanjit says, heart, I work at Hopkins and I feel a deep connection with the garden and what it means to us all at Hopkins. Someone else says, feeling inspired and re-inspired. Thank you for sharing it with us. Heart, feeling the heart work, feeling hopeful and energized. Thank you. Uplifting. Heart, redirecting student feelings and emotions to community building and reflection. Also a former Hopkins teacher. Heart, feeling hopeful, and thank you to the presenters. That's what we have so far. Feeling motivated. There's more coming in. Hands, we have our first hands. Love the mini Zen sand garden. I want some. Okay.
well, thank you to everyone. And I also want to just give a shout out to Becca Coleman. Thank you, Becca. It was really wonderful to have your presentation as well. And you're definitely physically missed here in the room today. We do have, I think, a little time now to complete a feedback survey, which we're going to share in the okay, great. Put in the chat, and then I'll have one here. We can either connect to it if you have a computer, but I also printed them out for those in the room. But I want to, give you time to do that, and thank everyone for attending and for this incredible just group of powerful, wonderful people who are doing great work here in Alameda County. Thank you for sharing your stories. Thanks. All right. Our small but mighty group. Yes, thank you guys so much for being here. Oh yeah, I also was gonna let you guys know too, we have 2 more of our community of practice events coming up. We've got Youth Power, We Are the Change Makers. We're going to have actually 12 students from Alameda County talking about, they're gonna share things that they are doing to make a change in their community. And then they're going to have advice for, TK to 12 teachers about how you can create opportunity for agency for students in your roles. And then that we'll put info in the chat about that. That's April 26th. It's from 5 to 6. It's also another hybrid event where you could attend via Zoom, or you can come on down to ACOE and join us here. And then we have healing centered practices. That's with me, and that's on May 10th from 3:30 to 4:30 p.m. It's just a virtual event again in Zoom. And this is where we're going to talk about transformative strategies to engage with students and to create educational environments that foster healing. It really comes from the trauma-informed work of Dr. Sean Ginwright. And looking forward to joining with those of you who are able to make it then. So thank you so much. Don't forget to provide your feedback. Again, wonderful, wonderful presenters. So much appreciation for you guys, and looking forward to seeing you hopefully at one of our next events.